Welcome to another session of Stelmo's Rants and Raves. I'm Stelmo. Let's just jump right in here. So, today I'm reading this headline, and the headline reads, Bondi says Blanche led Epstein files review. So, you have to laugh, but, nobody ever is the one responsible for something not going right. It's always somebody else. But I think the part that upsets me probably the most is I find out that Pam Bondi was supposed to sit for a sworn deposition, and because she got fired, they decided, well, we won't swear her in, and it won't be a formal, it'll be an informal thing. And, can't all of us just get along? Which perhaps is the underlying current there. Let's not, at this juncture, get her any madder than she is. And so we're going to give her this sweet deal. And, I just, I don't know. Now, what's interesting here is Donald Trump has now formally announced his plans to have Todd Blanche become the permanent Attorney General. And I'm not sure this is the right idea. I think if I was in the president's position, which clearly I'm not, I get that, but I think I would have left him as the acting Attorney General. And why do I say that? Well, from the time Pam Bondi got fired until now, it appears that Todd Blanche is doing far more than Pam Bondi ever dreamed of doing. And some will say, well, maybe that's a reason to give him the permanent job. But see, I think the problem here is there's so much money involved. And many of these people, especially those who don't see a clear career path for onward and upward mobility, are going to say, you know what? Maybe I should just take this money. And I suggest that I believe one of two things have happened with Donald Trump's previous attorney generals. Either they have gone over to the dark side and accepted some payments to leave some people alone. I guess there's another one. I suppose they could just claim that they're incompetent, but I don't know that anyone necessarily would buy that. And so, I don't know. It just seems that, yeah, Todd Blanche is doing good, but once he has that permanent job, will things change? I strongly suspect that those corrupt influences out there are not going to be so apt to pay big money to an acting attorney general, because while they can do something, perhaps to help them in the short term, they never know when this person's tenure as the acting is going to end and a permanent take his place. And so that's why I would just leave him there, let him continue to take the agency forward and see where it goes. Let's see how many arrests, because right now the Trump administration, they're at the 18-month point part, and soon is going to be 2 years. And really nothing has happened. Nothing important has happened. And are they going to get around to it? I don't know. Now, what's interesting in this article here is it says that, a number of the Republican senators, here, let me read this paragraph. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican South Dakota, said it was hard to say whether Blanche could get through, and Senators Thom Tillis, Republican North Carolina, and John Cornyn, Republican Texas, both Judiciary Committee members, said they were undecided. So it's not a slam dunk, and perhaps this Epstein file, maybe that's the reason why Todd is getting this reward. And I think that there may be problems here. Let's not forget, it was Todd Blanche who was sent to interview Jeffrey Epstein's cohort in crime. And after the interview, she was moved to a minimal security institution. And I know at the time it was upsetting to me because the only thing, well, two things I heard after the fact. One was she exonerated President Trump. And I didn't suspect that they're going to find anything. Donald Trump is the most investigated president we've ever had. I think he's probably the most investigated person in the history of this country, because they not only were they looking for anything that they could get him on, they were willing to manufacture stuff because their primary mission was to keep him out of the White House. They don't like the idea of a man becoming president who hadn't worked his way up. And it's during that upward climb that they often, well, I shouldn't say often, almost always are compromised. And they then do the bidding of the deep state, which is why we have so much problems here. And so I could never understand the meeting with Blanche that he had, because because of my memory problem, I'm drawing a blank as to what her name was, but nonetheless, we all know who she is, and I don't think she should be in a cushy prison. I think she should be right back where she was, because they want us to believe that she was very truthful. And see, that's where I was livid when I heard what happened. And the reason is because she said that there was nobody else that was, paying for any minor or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, there's really nobody else to name. And we all know that that's not true. They're protecting people here. And it's sad that Donald Trump, who they fought so hard to put him in prison, decided to go soft on us because, I used to listen to him, and every rally that I heard, he always said the Epstein file, day one, is getting released. But then he found out who was in the Epstein file. And it's not himself. He knew whether or not he was going over to that island and committing any kind of crimes. He knew that already. So that wasn't the situation, I don't believe. And but I think a lot of people were committing crimes. And I think it's obvious to most of America that all of those who were committing crimes are now getting a pass because somebody, and I often say to myself, who can it be that's at the top that has influenced the president as much as they have? I mean, it's getting to the point where I don't even recognize this president anymore. Yes, I know he did a lot of good things. We can't ignore, he closed the border. He showed everybody the border can be closed and we can stop the hordes of illegal immigrants coming in. And he's done other good things as well. But it's not even comparable really to his first term. And of course now he's off fighting in Iran, and it looks like that may never end. And of course Americans are going to be the ones to pay a hefty price for that, because inflation's only just started. It's going to get much, much worse, and people are going to feel it for a much longer time. And so I don't get that. So in the meantime now, we have Todd Blanche, who may be approved for the role of Attorney General. But I'm just not, I found it refreshing when I heard that one of Fauci's top aides had got indicted, because I said, well, then they got to put the screws to him and get him to turn states' witness and come forth with evidence of the actual perpetrators. That's what people want to see. People don't think it's right that some people, just because of the virtue that they're in the upper 1%, that they can purchase their way out of their criminal conduct. And I think this is a sad, reprehensible way. And will Todd Blanche change it? I don't know. Another thing is, we're hearing Todd Blanche come out now, and he's bragging about how they found all these burn bags when they took over. But, Mr. Blanche, we have already heard from Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, and everyone wants to pat their backs for finding all this stuff. But the big problem is, who's been charged as a result of finding it? I don't know. I haven't heard of anybody. In fact, it really, I will say that the pace of arrest has picked up, but it's all predominantly street-level people, never the masterminds behind it. And I think most of us strongly suspect, and rightfully so, that this protected class just happens to be politicians in office. And as long as politicians in office are able to get away with everything that they have, it's problematic for this country. And if the Donald Trump Justice Department does not soon get off their derriere and start charging people for the really serious crimes that we know were committed, our country's doomed. Our country is doomed because, the Republican story has always been that the reason for sentences, and sometimes harsh sentences, is to deter crime. If you don't have the sentences, there's no deterrence there. And I agree with that rationale. But the only problem is it seems like if you get to a certain level of being a successful politician in this country, that then you have carte blanche to just go out and commit whatever crimes you want and steal whatever taxpayer money you want, and the repercussions will be minimal. So, we're tired of hearing about all of this evidence that they found in the burn bags. Show us some results. And that month after month after month after month, they fail to do. And also, I find a lot of these successful Republican pundits, they're complicit in this because they're not holding the Trump administration to account, which they should be. And I don't understand why they're not. I just know they're not. And this just doesn't bode well in the long end. And it's just really hard to figure out. I have nothing necessarily against Todd Blanche other than the fact that he was the one who moved Epstein's cohort in crime, and she's now in a cushy, minimal security prison. She's loving it, and she's keeping quiet because they're taking care of her. And I have little to no doubt that when Trump is finishing up his term of office, he's going to pardon her. He knows right now that if he were to pardon her, it could be considered political suicide. And so he's going to wait. In the meantime, they have her in a cushy place, and she's kept quiet. She's done what has to be done. And it's not that she's keeping quiet about Trump, but she's keeping quiet about the main men that are out there. And I assume it's more than one. And they have the big bucks, and they're the ones now who apparently have gotten into Trump's ear, because now Trump finds the Epstein files something that he just wants to put in the back burner. Well, I don't think it's ever going to go back in the back burner. And, in the UK, the people there are outraged, and they're actually pursuing the politicians over there, and not just the politicians, but Prince Andrew as well. And but here in this country, it's like nothing, and nobody believes that. Nobody believes it for a minute. And I don't know why Donald Trump thinks that this is the best thing for him and his family, because I suggest it's not going to bode well for him. But that's something he's going to have to find out. With that, I thank you all for listening. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop them down below. I'll make every effort to get them answered as soon as possible. And with that, y'all have a great day. Stay safe. It is a crazy world out there. It gets crazier by the day. Thank you. Bye-bye.